In the town of Boston, tamer by the name of Sana Yugi walks in. The adventures, yeah. Worker Lily greets him on the front desk, assuring him that it's okay if he was unable to finish his quest. However, YouTube politely informs that he was able to finish his task earlier and came by the guild in case he was needed for another job. With that, UD Slime pukes out a bunch of dryers, causing everyone to gasp dramatically, as nobody's ever seen or collected so many tries before. The group of adventurers nearby is prompted, wonder about Yuji's status on the cheapest guild, arrives and sees the dryers brought out in front of him. He says, "I'll take your entire stock." Suddenly an informer barges in, and the chief of a horde of monsters is coming straight to the city. As the chief of the guild, Asia suggests all the adventurers evacuate the village. The villagers at the mercy of the monsters. Insurance refuse to leave the villagers. Yuji steps up and assures everyone to trust him and follow Blizzarders. With thank, Yuji asks the adventurers to be on standby, while he asks his army of slimes and a wolf called the Proud Wolf to time the monsters and predict their movement. But he slimes at his disposal put the town under a protective barrier wall, unleashes the fire of hell upon the monsters. Once the town is saved, Beauty escapes in the night without having the desire to be him as a hero. Another day, another quest for Yuji is he journeys towards the town of Julia, where he's assigned a party person adventure. A man named Rodus, who introduces himself as the Master Daggers, undermines Yugi's capabilities. Two girls by the name of Tina and jump to Yuji's defense. They don't run us off by saying that it's him who's hard to work with, as his previous party abandoned him outnumbered. Rodus bites back his tongue. The party then advances in a forest, where Yuji deploys his slimes for a stakeout. After tracking down the monsters and surprising his party with his awesome main character skills, Rodus hunts down the monsters, giving Yuji the impression that he's certainly got the stealth. Later, as they're planning to camp Rogers volunteers to go first. As Yuji is napping, he dreams about how he went from a corporate slave to a sage in an alternate verse. When he was summoned to another realm, he now possesses the ability to control an army of slimes, which help them absorb magic. When he's awoken by his dream, his slime informs him that the others have left the camp. Knowing something's off about the situation, Yuji senses slams the spy on Rodus. A Slimes and Proud Wolf inform Mug that Rodus and his group of bandits are planning to save the girls from the imminent danger. Yuji tasks the Slimes to take on the bad guys. Once the threat is eliminated, be done with the quest. As the trio reaches the mouth of the Earth Dragons, where they notice strong winds coming from every direction. Old tales claim that the wind is produced by the dragon's breath. Meanwhile, Yuji realizes that his teammates depend on him. It's little too much. He backtracks to the past, where he took an exam to register. During the process, he stuns his examiner with his dexterity and effortless magic tricks. As the journey resumes, Tina and Lisa know the peculiarity of the situation, as they haven't encountered a single monster, unbeknownst to them that you just already wiped them all out. Suddenly the sky turns an ominous color of purple. In town branch chief, we all discuss the matter with Father Steel, who informs him that the dark sky and blue moon is an augur of calamity that will perform the continent. The sky erupts, then a massive blue dragon appears. Yuji orders dragon around wolves to round up the slimes, and they keep the area. When the group realizes that the dragon they're facing is not the Earth Dragon, they decide to fall back. Soon the group finds themselves in trouble as the Earth Dragon makes its presence known. While the girls take cover, Yu alone fights off the dragon. Once the quest is completed, they return to town. They're Yuji Sabbath, the party of adventurers that will take down the blue dragon, who continues to gain in size. Father Stale informs everyone that after the dragon emerges, it is said that it will wipe out the continent. Baby's time. Maybe a bit of a David reference, but I'm getting some Ujwa masked vibes here. In the quiet of the night, Slimes and Proud Wolves take on the Great Blue Dragon. After suffering enough damage that decreases his HP, Eugene manages to successfully obliterate said dragon. When the job is done, YouTube returns to rest in the town. Next morning, Real tells Yuta that if he hadn't asked for help, they would have been at his disposal. With Daddy Bits and goodbye. Morning meal. Tina and Lily asked Eugene where he's headed next, as he's uncertain about his destination. The girl suggests to check out the town of Ricardo, as he's on his way. His friend Dryad asks him to help her with magical potions that will help increase the intensity of mana. While I wait for the potion to be formed, Dryad talks about the past when she was saved by Yuji, and how she owes her life to him now. Once the potion is ready, he thanks Yuji by hugging him and offering him the vials of the potion. When his journey to Ricardo resumes, he crosses a path thickened with fog. Unable to see what's ahead of him, he stumbles upon Here Village. As he continues walking, he notices all the villagers are gawking at him with creepy smiles plastered on their faces. Then the head of the village addresses Eugene Balkans. Welcome to the town of Messiah. Knowing something's off, Yuji takes his leave quickly. Once he's gone, the chief cryptically talks to Crystal Ball, saying everything is prepared. Once you do that, the place isn't shrouded by snow. But having come this far, Yuji decides he'll stay forever. Give me a luckily when he reaches a diner. The service sim there all like a firewood, and even if he somehow manages to get the wood, it'll take at least a year for the moisture to leave the wood. Being a man with an appetite, Yuji goes out in the forest. Using his magic, Yuji gets the required wood needed for cooking. And so next he asks the slimes to soak up the moisture from said wood. And once the job is done, he goes back to get some dinner. When the cook inspects the wood, he notices that it's too dry. Just as the words leave his mouth, Yuji puts the slimes to work once more. Now he's got some perfectly good wood in his hand, but no pun intended, the cook manages to make an appetizing meal for Yuji. After his meal, Yuji goes to the town's guild and realizes is well got one, and as he gets down to business, he shocks the nearby woodcutters by his insane skills. Yuji goes out in the forest to sneak out after his slime to take the mysterious ball, but try and sell beauty realizes it's a dragon's grace, a magical artifact that is being used to absorb the magic out of the area, which is also linked with the unseasonal call. As they're looking out for more stones, they discover a dungeon centered in the forest. Couldn't be a fantasy sky without dungeons. Dispatching his slimes into the dungeon, Yuji learns that all of this is the work of the people met in the science village. Even the paths inside the underground lead directly to the village. Under the veil of invisibility, Yugi slimes the workers as they inform Javier about the stones in the forest. While Yuji eavesdrops on the conversation to the slime, she starts to wonder if the entire village is filled with followers of a cult. But the name of the blue moon is Salvation. Javier then dispenses squad to locate the cause of the explosion and retrieve the cursed stones around the area. Realizing that things are escalating fast, Yuji asks his slime to encircle the village. Meanwhile, the remaining slimes are ordered to digest the books left at the library. Once all Year's men enter the forest, they're quickly captured by Yugi slimes. Once they're trapped, they quickly end themselves, shocking Eugene and the slimes. Similarly, when Javier finds all the books are gone, Tracy realizes that, well, they have an intruder. Man, that if they meet their fate here, the cleaning fire will be activated, which will cause a massive eruption. With that, they all raise their swords together, plunging it into their own throats. Just as Javier said, a green fire sets ablaze. The houses break due to an intense eruption. Yuji puts his entire strength to form a protective barrier. The fire after saving the day yet again. Yuji returns to Burkardale where he's warmly welcomed, but the target on his back, Yuji decides to go to another town. Did you realize he's being followed by two mercenaries? One of them even looks like a cheap copy of Kakashi Haddock. And we're not talking Jujutsu Kaisen. Knowing that if he kills the mercenary, Salvation of the Moon will just keep on dispatching more mercenaries. This is slime is helping me eavesdrop. Yuji learns that two mercenaries are trying to determine if these were killing based on his strength. This gives him the idea to downplay his abilities. Once he enters the town of beginning, and he starts pretending to be a penniless airhead, who uses tamer skills to find coins on the street. Still adamant to assess Yuji, the mercenaries follow him to his quest of taking monstrous wars with Chopper. So instead of fighting himself, he sends Power Wolf to the battle. Despite his hesitancy and cowardly nature, Proud Wolf puts up a good fight. I see reminiscences about the time when he was once Yuji strong. Doubts the glorious past he claimed to have lived, as he found him as a cowardly dog. Surprisingly, Proud Wolf lives up to his name, but then suddenly a boar comes lurching towards Yuji, caused him to summon a weapon and animal in half. Oops, after being stunned for a while, the mercenaries not worth the fight, and they should be on their way to kill Father still. Once he realizes they're not safe, he freezes them. As Bundy is known for its armor, YouTube visits a shop inquiring about the armor. One look at the slimes and dealing with powerful monsters. Fuji that he'll need to extract jewels from dragons called lesser fire dragons, and if he wishes to have armor of fine quality, he'll need a jewel from a rare creature called the blue fire dragon. Now he's decided to take on the challenge. He visits the town's guild to take on more quests. On the way there, a lady on the desk informs him that magic doesn't work on the dragons, but water does. And it just so happens Yuji is saying, I check older. He mountains up and sees his slime hesitating upon the side of the dragons. He learns that slimes have mothers who warned them about the lesser fire dragons. Yuji says fine, I'll do it myself, and showers the dragons with water, causing them to immediately of the ground. Once the slimes see how easy it is to take them on, they start fighting the dragons with water, and they distracting their jewels. Mom has returned. The shopkeeper immediately against the work, creating armor for the slimes and Proud Wolf that increased their abilities. Yuji asks if the shopkeeper can make something Pants tells him that for that, you'll need a jewel from a fire dragon that lives in the volcanoes. As he's resting with a new quest inside, he's suddenly alerted by the slimes that dragons are on the loose. The volcano, well, that's erupted. As the humongous fire dragon emerges from the erupting volcano, looking like an anime version of Smog, is in great danger. To make matters worse, the sudden rain has hurt the dragons further. Believing that this couldn't be a mere coincidence, Yuji asks his slime to go on a stakeout. Through his slime, Yuji is able to detect the presence of two suspicious men with an agenda to get the jewel from the fire dragon. He also mentioned that the job was given to them by mysterious men from Hungarian. Just to trap the man, they commit suicide in the same manner as the followers of the salvation of the cult. The real trouble arises when the fire dragon starts advancing towards the town with destruction in its mind. As Yuji steps into the battle, the fire dragon proves to be a worthy opponent and gives Yuji quite a workout. Once the dragon is eliminated, the rain stomps itself as well as he goes to collect the jewel from the dragon. This cover is so weird-looking machine. Upon returning to the town, he heads straight to the shopkeeper and gives him the jewel. Once our protagonist has some new armor ready for him, he inquires about the town of Odarian. From the guild, the girl tells them that the place is frowned upon by many adventurers as it has an ill reputation. Goes through the weird machine. The girl informs him that every town has this machine, which is basically used to create artificial brain. As Yuji advances to the town of Barbarian, he notices that unlike other towns, people here appear to be unfriendly. Once he makes it to the guild, he dispatches his slime to spy on the men working there. To know him, and the news of his arrival, should be delivered to a man called Walter. As he's eating in a diner, Father Stale and his acolyte Johann appears next to him. The two get to talking about the cult, and Father Stale reveals that back in his youth, he started a group called Church of the Blue Moon. The purpose of it was to honor his fallen comrades, but the group gained popularity. Many people decided to join it, one such person being Walter. Walter showed great respect for the divine, but Father still didn't know that we have an ulterior motive. One day Walter decided to strike at Father Stalin. Since then the group has been called the Salvation of the Blue Moon. After Father's Tales done narrating the story, he informed that a revelation has come to us. He says that YouTube will save the world from Walter's wicked plans. Later, when Yuji notices Father's Tales' disappearance, he tracks him to an ominous-looking place. Meanwhile, US Father still confronts Walter. He's ensnared by Johann, who's been Walter's mole all along. Soon enough, Yuji enters Walter's lair. If priest Fathers fail and notices Walter has turned his followers into the creatures of the dead, Walter then cryptically thanks for bringing Yuji to a mess. He absorbs power from a peculiar machine, turning into an overgrown bat. Shortly after, the fight between Eugene and Walter commences. Yuji notes that Walter is overflowing with magic extracted from Dragon's Grace. When Yuji manages to obliterate Walter, tearing him in half, Walter once again rises up, absorbing energy from his dead followers. As the fight resumes once more, Yuji finally delivers a fatal blow to Walter. As he's dying, Walter utters his last words. Revelation when Yuji notices that the fight was almost too easy. Something's not right suddenly. The entire place lights up and a mysterious man appears, known as the Sage. Yuji asks Father Stale about the existence of the man that stands in front of them. Understand reveals that the legend spoke them, and it seems as if Walter sacrificed himself and his followers to resurrect the Sage suddenly. The saint utilizes the same tricks used by Eugene, causing immense destruction in the area. The seed rises up into the sky. Yuji gives a magical boost to his slimes and launches an attack on his enemy. Unfortunately, whatever Yuji throws it in, Sage comes out unharmed and unbothered. Before perishing away, the cultists of the blue had left artificial rain machines to spread out the curse of the Sage. The Sage starts to soak up all the magic the land, which stirs up the monsters, causing them to attack nearby villages. To save said villages, Yuji sends out his slimes, whilst also fighting the Sage who asks, you can submit to the salvation he's going to bring. The help of this slime he's able to keep down. Notices that all the villages are prepared to fight for their village because of the hope that Eugene left them with. Realizing that for once, teamwork isn't as bad as he believes you do. This attention and magic on finishing off the almighty Sage. Discarding his previously used tricks, Ugg strikes the Sage with lightning, then wielding the knife given by Stale. Number is one last beetle blow, causing the Sage to disappear. Once and for all, as they say there ain't no rest for the wicked. Once things return to normalcy, begins a new quest in a new town. As he enters the guild, he realizes that people see no one, and his tales of Bourbano. And that's the end of the video. I'll be uploading a lot of videos so I'll see you at the next one.